Hey everyone, welcome to Triple Row Sports, and what we're trying to do is put more power into that swing right there. And this is something that we have been working on. We've gone through a lot of different variations, trying to find out what works, but we're going to be pointing out a couple flaws in this swing that you see and what we're doing to try and fix it and why. So stay with us as we walk through this. So what do we notice? Well, first things first, right? It's 100% in the load. So we slow it down as you see his body is moving backwards to then move forward. You can also see, and I'm going to pause it right here, that look at his hands, right? His hands pause. And also take a good look at his back elbow. His back elbow is dropping, meaning his back head is staying back. It's all the way back. It's basically pointing at the plate right now. We do not want this. This is going to lead to a bad barrel path and a bad bat path. Now let's slow it down a bit more and finish this swing out. So as you can see, the bath and the path that the bat took was a poor path. You're not going to hit anything hard. You're not getting any power. And you can also see that the hips never fully get through. So let's break down another swing variant. So now we're going to slow it down a bit more, and you can see his hands start too high. He gets into what you can say is load. His hands move back, and now he starts his actual launch position, or getting into the launch position because he's still into his load here. So from right here, he's going to pick up that back foot or front foot and start moving forward. And you can see the elbow will drop along with the weight in the hip never officially gets through the zone. And because of that, he doesn't have any power getting through the ball. He is all arms. And you will see this a lot in kids his age. You will see this from coaches who tell their kids, stay back, stay back, stay back. The kids don't necessarily understand what stay back means, especially at 12 years old or a little bit older than that. They'll just think, oh, stay back, I keep all my weight on my back foot. No, that's not necessarily true here. So here the leg comes up, staying on the inside of the foot. However, his back foot is facing towards the catcher. Elbow immediately drops. He's casting that back elbow out. Swinging through, his weight is still back, and his hip never strides. And because his hip never strides, his power never strides. And that is why he's either grounding out, hitting a pop fly, or not hitting a solid barrel. So now I want to show you a snippet from the Hitting Vault on YouTube. They break it down very nicely. You can see them break down the swing of Mike Trout, and it's a great thing to teach.
Mechanics here. So starting stance, a little bit taller, smaller between his feet here, a little bit more narrow stance. Front shoulder is still slightly lower than his back shoulder. He likes to have his hands up a little bit higher here. Nice comfortable position for him. Pretty tall. As we see him get into his load, see him picking up that front foot, maintaining his posture by not letting this back knee go way outside his back foot. He's staying stacked here, ready to go forward. Front shoulder is continuing to go down and starting to work down and in that front shoulder internal rotation here. But what we see with a lot of younger hitters that are trying to have a high leg kick, like Mike Trout, they end up shifting all of their weight way on their backside, and this front shoulder starts going up. And there's no way for them to maintain that posture as they go down and forward into their launch position. So he does a great job at getting kind of like hinging at his hip a little bit there, starting to create that torso tilt down and in. His hands started so high up here that's why you're seeing his hands drop a little bit, getting into a more neutral position for when he gets to his launch position. So his hands drop a little bit. Starts to go forward. Nice controlled movement going forward. Getting to his launch position right there, and that's a textbook launch position. Launch position is right when that front heel hits. So we're going to be looking at this position here. His knob is kind of down towards the catcher. So a lot of people are like, oh, his barrel is like really, really flat. And he does have his hands, as he starts going forward, his barrel is pretty flat. It's actually more towards facing the umpire. But when he gets to his launch position, right when that heel hits right there, you'll see that he's got that knob right down towards the catcher, which is what we see with the majority of elite hitters in the MLB and in professional softball as well, as that knob is down towards the catcher right when that heel hits right there. Something else, he has his front shoulder still down slightly. There's some variances with some hitters. Some are steeper than others. But pretty much all elite hitters have that front shoulder slightly lower than that back shoulder. His hands are still up and back. They haven't started drifting forward. A lot of hitters, amateur hitters, will bring their hands starting to go too soon, too early, and you're missing out on the potential power and tension that you're created, that you can create by those hips starting to go just a little bit, and then those hands staying up and back. That's creating a lot of tension right there. Nice and balanced right here with his weight right in the middle. A little bit of front knee bend. Start to go into his bat path. And a lot of people say, like, don't drop your back shoulder. It's pretty important to drop your back shoulder in order to hit line drives into gaps and home runs. And how much you drop your back shoulder is dependent on the height of the pitch. So a pitch that's coming in really high up here, you're going to have a little bit flatter shoulders. Pitch that's really low, so you accidentally swing at a pitch that's like in between your shins or in between your knee and your ankles. That's going to need a lot of shoulder tilt or hip hinge, torso tilt in order to be able to get that to be not a ground ball, but instead of having that be a line drive in the gap. But what happens is that hitters tend to have that back shoulder drop too soon. So when someone's saying you're dropping your back shoulder, or, as coaches, you're saying don't drop your back shoulder, make sure that you're understanding like when that's happening. So what we don't want is that back shoulder to be dropping through this whole movement right here, going forward, and that back shoulder is dropping. You can see his back shoulder is not dropping. He's maintaining this position right there. Front shoulder down, back shoulder up. Right there to his launch position. His front shoulder is down, his back shoulder is up. So be careful as coaches that you're not saying don't drop your back shoulder, but look at the root as to like when is that back shoulder actually dropping? Is it dropping way back here as they're going forward? And when their heel hits, is their front shoulder up and their back shoulder down? That's not what elite hitters do. We have to have that good posture, front shoulder down, back shoulder up when that heel hits. So what we start to see after his launch position, his barrel works right on this path. Actually, that was pretty So what we start to see after his launch position, his barrel works right on this path. Actually, that was a pretty good guess there with my line. Works that barrel behind him. His hips are turning hard towards the pitcher. Right there, his belt buckle is already at the pitcher, and his bat is back here. A lot of younger kids, their hips are not moving very fast or not moving at all, and it's just their hands that are pushing towards the ball. So you actually see them have a more steep bat path going straight down, or they're just weak at contact point because they're using only their upper body instead of their hips rotating, getting that belt buckle to the pitcher before contact. He does a good job at maintaining good torso tilt throughout his swing, all the way through. A lot of kids start to stand up with their head, or as they get close to contact, they lose their torso tilt right here, or hip hinge, whatever you'd like to call it. Gets to his contact position, strong position there. We don't want to have be really extended. A lot of hitters are extended like really far out front at contact point. That contact point, he does a great job at like making sure he's in a strong position with his elbows and his arms and his shoulders, strong barrel position, and he's not swinging and making contact way out here. He's also not making it really deep back here. This is a pitch that was actually just left middle, so this is kind of good standard position. He's making contact right off of his front foot, right there. What you'll notice with him, and there's a lot of other hitters in the MLB that